I can't believe you did that. How embarrassing.
Tell me about Grace Fremantle.
She was quiet.
Yeah.
Didn't really notice her.
No.
Not shy exactly.
No.
But not loud either.
No.
The sort of person that if someone at school said, you know Grace, you'd say, who's Grace?
Who's Grace?
And they'd say Grace Fremantle.
Grace Fremantle.
And you'd say, who's Grace Fremantle?
Who is Grace Fremantle?
And they'd say the one from 11F.
Oh, the one from 11F.
And you go, oh, the one with the hair and the glasses. And you go, no, that's Miriam.
That's Miriam.
But after a few tries, you'd get it.
Yeah.
You know the sort, not that good looking.
No.
Not bad looking though.
No.
Not clever, like clever.
No.
Not top sets or anything like that.
Nothing like that.
Not bottom sets either.
No.
Not a joker.
No.
Or a troublemaker.
No.
Or a loner.
No.
It means you had friends.
She had friends.
They weren't popular.
Unpopular.
No, not unpopular.
Yeah. No, yeah. No, not unpopular.
Grace was just kind of, you know, those American kids that go to high schools and shoot everyone dead, and the teachers are like, oh, no big surprise. He hasn't spoken in 2 years, and he's been wearing the same black sweatshirt for 11 months, and his chemistry book was full of drawings of guns. Well, Grace wasn't like that.
She wasn't like that.
She was average.
Yeah. Average.
Grace Fremantle was totally average.
Totally average.
My name is Grace Fremantle, and I was totally average. My dad is mates with Grace's dad, Paul. My dad always says Paul is a good bloke. My dad's a twitcher, which means he's a bird watcher. Yeah, cringe, totally. I hear you. Grace's dad, Paul, is also a twitcher. The pair of them go down the marshes every Sunday with their binoculars, and then they go for a fry-up at Pauline's cafe after and chat about sparrows and bob-tailed tits. That's a real bird. That's its real name. Last year, Paul, Grace's dad, posted a video of Grace having a tantrum when she was little.
15 thumbs up.
15
thumbs
up.
27
I'm 5 years old, and I'm wearing my Little Miss Sunshine t-shirt. Dad's playing with his new phone. We're supposed to be going to the park. I ask him. He says he's busy, but he promised, and that is not fair.
It is a funny video, I can't deny that. She's screaming on the floor, little arms and legs all over the place.
I'm fire and fury inside.
And then she gets up, and she falls on her Lego. And if you've ever fallen on Lego, you know that it hurts like hell. And Paul, Grace's dad, was just filming it all, giggling away on his new phone.
I'm bread and blood and pus inside.
Grace's mum, Jen, comes in to see what's going on. She tries to reason with Grace, but there's no point.
I'm blast and yellow and clash inside.
Jen tries to cuddle her, and Grace kicks her.
I'm rupture and burst and storm inside.
And Paul, Grace's dad, says, your behaviour is completely inappropriate for a young lady. And Grace roars in his face, like actually roars.
Roar!
Like properly roars. And she's sent to her room to think about what she's done. And Jen turns to Paul and says, what did we do to deserve her? And they burst out laughing. And the video stops. Paul found the video last year and put it on Facebook with the title, Epic Disgrace, which is kind of funny and clever because it's a pun on her name, Grace. Disgrace. Epic disgrace. But also, you know, a bit crap of him. All the parents thought it was hilarious, my dad included. I'm not saying that Paul, Grace's dad, posting that video has got anything to do with that day in PE and what happened and everything. It's just, I wouldn't like it if my dad did that. It's not a very responsible, adult, grown-up thing to do.
It's December, cold, evening, 7 o'clock. I'm at home. Dad is at work. Mummy's just finished her shift and is eating a sandwich she found with some chutney in the back of the cupboard. I'm in my bedroom, staring at my GCSE revision timetable. My revision timetable is colour-coded and covered in fluorescent post-its that Dad nicked from work. My parents are big on revision and me being the best possible version of myself. My revision timetable is a work of art.
Grace, are you revising?
I like the way the pink and the yellow post-its look next to each other.
Grace, Can you hear me?
They remind me of sweets,
Grace!
like rhubarb and custards.
I hope you're revising, Grace.
Like the rhubarb and custards I had when we went to the seaside when I was 7.
It's maths and physics tonight, isn't it?
And we walked along the beach and found shells, and Dad ran into the sea. And I had a 99 ice cream. And Mum ruffled my hair and snuck a bite of my flake. But I didn't mind, because the sun was shining and the sea was wavy.
Grace! I'm not going to nag you. Remember, it's your future.
And that's when I first feel it.
Your future.
In my belly, I feel
Your future.
a gnawing, a presence. It is small, like a cherry pip or a baby shrimp. It is really small, whatever it is. But it's here. It's definitely here.
Grace Fremantle. Grace Fremantle in PE. More like Grace Free Mental. Do you get it? Grace Free Mental. You don't get it.
I met Grace on my first day at primary. We were best friends. We are best friends. No, you know what? It's kind of difficult to say ever since the Anyway, we loved primary school. Everyone loved primary school. I remember our teacher, Mrs. Drake. She used to take the whole class out onto the school field every Thursday, and she used to take us out and tell us to look up at the sky. She taught us about cumulus clouds and nimbus clouds and stratus clouds. She told us to close our eyes and to listen to the music of the wind through the trees. And then she used to ask us to lie down on our stomachs and to feel the heat of the soil on the earth. And she used to tell us to look in the grass and to count all the different things we could see. And she used to say to us, "Isn't the world a wonderful place?" And we all nodded, belly down on the hot soil. I remember one Thursday, I counted 17 things in the grass, and Grace counted 17 things too. We both saw a bright green iridescent bug. It was beautiful. I miss being 7. I miss counting interesting things in the grass.
I'm in the library reading a book about... I don't actually know what it's about because I'm not reading it really. It's for English and it's boring. I'd rather read my own books compared to the books that someone tells me that I have to read. I flick through Insta on my phone.
A young woman stands in a bikini on a beach.
My insides feel hot.
A young woman stands in a bikini on a beach. The beautiful orange sun sets behind her.
I feel...
The palm trees are vivid green.
my stomach feels wormy,
She is tanned.
like the night before an exam.
The orange sun makes her glow.
Or when your friends don't respond to your post.
Her body is slim and curvy.
Or when a teacher says, "Can I speak to you after class?"
Her bikini is the brightest white.
It is pulsing in my body.
Her hair is windswept and natural.
I can feel it pulsing in my body.
She's having the best time.
Pulse.
Post didn't want to leave our little place at Green Pines Ibiza today.
Pulse.
Thank you to everyone at Green Pines Ibiza for such a gorgeous 2 days. Emoji waves.
I'm not pregnant if that's what you think.
Emoji sun, emoji pink hearts times 2.
I've never had sex. I've never been near any sperm.
Emoji white hands preach. Hashtag ditzy bikinis.
And it's not another Jesus, just to be clear.
Hashtag seawater shampoo.
I don't know what it is, but it's not that.
Hashtag EasyJet.
Pulse.
Grace Fremantle was a normal person until she wasn't. There's a special school assembly of a special guest. The special guest is a famous barrister from a private school across town. The private school has its own theatre and cricket pitch and ancient oak trees. Our school doesn't have its own theatre or cricket pitch or ancient oak trees. Our school has one between two books and teachers who go off sick. The barrister is very passionate.
I want you to look to your left. Now look to your right. Welcome to your competition.
My womb contracts.
You will sit your GCSEs at the same time. You will sit your A-levels together, and you will apply for university at the same time.
My womb judders.
And what I want to know is, how are you going to stand out from everybody else?
It expands in my womb.
You are at a crucial point in your lives.
It expands.
Let's be real here. Do you want to own a house? How are you going to go about that?
It grows to the size of a chestnut.
Because houses are expensive.
It's not painful, but not painful either. It feels sort of
You need to start planning your future now. What is your plan?
unknowable.
What is your 5-year plan?
It feels like the worst is yet to come.
Harness your power.
Or the best is yet to come.
You are in charge of your destiny.
It grows to the size of a mouse.
Take control of your life.
It grows to the size of a hamster.
Push to be the person you wish to be.
By the end of the assembly, it is the size of a newborn puppy.
Welcome to the real world.
A small one.
This is your opportunity.
A Jack Russell, maybe.
Embrace your life.
Or a West Highland Terrier.
Make your own decisions.
Yes, like a West Highland Terrier puppy scrambling around inside me.
So my memory of Grace Fremantle, before that day in PE, before it all happened, it's kind of hazy. I mean, she was in my classes, sure, but no, nothing. I mean, there was this one time. No, that wasn't her. Oh wait, no, I got one. There was this one time, right? It was break time, and me and my mates were in the art block. My mate Ali was laughing and looking at something on his phone. I asked what it was, and he showed me. Somebody had taken a picture of Janice Levi winning the 100-metre sprint for the Borough Championships. Now, just so you know, a bit of context in that, Janice Levi was the best runner in our school, and she was like superhuman. I mean, she broke all kinds of running records. A coach came all the way from Manchester. There were even talks about the next Olympics. Right. So in the video, you can quite clearly see that Janice isn't wearing a sports bra. She's just, wearing her normal bra. And because her boobs are quite big and she's running quite fast, they're really bouncing. And somebody has written a title that doesn't say, "The Superhuman Woman Slays the Competition at the Borough Championships." Instead, they've written,
Fastest tits in the borough!
my mates are all laughing, but I don't think it's funny. I sort of half laugh because I don't want to. So Grace Fremantle walks by and Ali shows her the video. She doesn't laugh, but she doesn't say anything either. She just sort of looks at it and then goes into her lesson. I told my form tutor about that because I thought, an adult should know about it. I don't know if he did anything about it though. So, that's my Grace story. So it's a bit of an anticlimax. Janice refused to come to the school after that. It's also a bit more of a Janice story than a Grace story. I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry.
When it is asleep, it throbs in time with my heartbeat. It feels like we're one thing. I know we are not one thing. plays around. Sometimes I think it has feathers. Sometimes I think it has fur. Sometimes spikes, like a porcupine. It wrestles and tumbles inside my body. I can feel its spine up against my kidneys.
It was February when I first noticed Grace being an oddball.
When I was 6 years old, I broke my leg.
My mum,
Was running from
she'd just gotten engaged to John,
his friends.
aka the dickhead. She was trying to get me on side, so she'd given me a tenner for dinner, you know, as a treat. So, me and Grace, we were sat in Pizza Town, waiting for our pizzas. Mine, obviously, an extra hot Hawaiian with olives, because I'm half Italian and I love pineapple, so yeah, sue me. Grace, however, she was having a margarita. Classic. Pizza Town is not a place to be worried about cleanliness, no? Like, you could say the mop is a stranger to that floor. Yeah. But you best not think too hard about that one. Let's just say the pizzas are banging, however, yeah. So it's all swings and roundabouts, isn't it, really? However, there is this TV up in the corner on the ceiling, right? It's not one of them fancy flat screens. It's, you know, one of them ones with a big bum on the back. Yeah, some bare boring news was on, but Grace was watching it.
There are women and children and men in an inflatable boat on the sea. The waves are enormous. The boat is sinking.
It scuttles down from my belly, across my pelvis and into my thigh.
The sound was off. Ed Sheeran was blaring out at a million decibels. It looked like the news was the most boringest music video ever, but Grace was watching it. She just kept watching it.
A woman slips from the boat. She has a baby in her arms. She tries to keep the baby above her head as she is dragged down into the water.
It quivers inside my thigh.
My mum met the dickhead through her mate Sally, right? They used to go out together, but dumped him because he was, what's the word, too high maintenance, right? So when I met him, I didn't like him one bit. He was cold to me when my mum wasn't there, right? And then he'd be really nasty to her when she turned her back.
A terrified man reaches for the screaming baby and passes it to a terrified teenage girl.
It pushes its tiny skull up against my kneecap.
I tried to say something about it to my mum, right? Like, look at the warning signs. But she said, don't you want me to be happy? There's nothing you can say to that, really, is there? So she gave me 10 quid. So there we are, sat in Pizza Town, waiting. Me worrying about my mum and the dickhead, and Grace just watching the TV like she'd never seen a TV before.
The woman disappears under a crash of foam and bubble.
I said, Grace, what are you going to do next year?
It taps at my kneecap. Tap.
I said, are you going to stay on at school?
I put my hands above my knee. I massaged the skin. I tried to soothe it.
I said, Grace.
Grace! The boat upturns. The children, women, and men scream and shout. They cling to an inflatable for a soft.
My leg violently jerks, hits the underneath of the table.
And you'll never believe what happened next, right? She got up and she left. Like, she left Pizza Town without even saying goodbye. Are you joking? Are you actually joking? Who does that, right? Who does that? She weren't even my first choice to go to Pizza Town with, right? No one else was free, so I had to take her.
I crouch behind the bins at the back. I take a deep breath. I look down at my leg. It is pulsing against my skin. I can see the outline of its face. There is a beak. The it has a beak. The it has a beak, and it is pulsing against my skin.
Do you know what the worst part is, right? My mum, she went and married that dickhead.
Grace was in my maths class. I liked her. I think she liked me too. Sometimes I'd catch her looking over at me and I'd smile, and sometimes she'd catch me looking over at her and she'd smile at me. There was something between us. You can just feel it, can't you? I was going to ask if she wanted to like go out or come around mine or hang out or whatever, but then she changed and I didn't. She was nice. I wish I'd said, you know, if anything's up, you can talk to me. You know that, right, Grace? You can talk to me if you want. I wish I'd said that.
We were in geography.
It was proper boring.
Grace was sat on our table.
Seating plan.
Between
The teacher, Miss Jarvis, loves a seating plan.
Jarvis is scary.
In it, the way her eyes bulge out of her head when she's annoyed.
That lesson, Miss Jarvis was going on about carbon emissions.
Miss Jarvis is always going on about carbon emissions.
Miss Jarvis really hates carbon emissions.
It is resting. It is cold around my heart.
It is important to understand that the Earth's climate is changing at an unprecedented speed.
I don't even know what a carbon emission is. Do you?
Yeah.
Oh.
We can see this in high temperatures all over the world, along with rising sea levels.
It wants something.
I mean, geography isn't my thing. Art is my thing.
You are sick at art.
Oh, thanks, hon.
We can see this in more frequent and severe floods, droughts, and storms.
I don't know what it wants.
Miss Jarvis was droning on, so I decided to get my phone out to show the others this bag I liked. I passed my phone to Grace under the table.
Anna Beauty, 1.1 million followers. This beautiful clutch makes the perfect travel bag, and it's only $42.99.
We can see this in species extinction.
Grace looked at the phone really close, and I remember because I wanted to see it, but I couldn't get to it.
Anna Beauty, hashtag
Hashtag
clutch,
clutch,
hashtag retro vibes, hashtag bring on summer.
The vaquita is the world's rarest marine mammal. Grace was gripping her phone like...
Yeah, like...
Pixie Dream 22, Anna Beauty, I want your bag, I want your life.
The vaquita will be extinct in the next 5 years.
It's body tenses.
I remember because she had her head down like...
Yeah, like...
Yeah. And then Miss Jarvis put up this picture of this fish thing that she was going on about. The small porpoise was only discovered in 1968, and here we are, 60 years later, nearly about to lose them forever.
And Grace suddenly looked up.
But she was still gripping my phone like...
It scuttles along the length of my torso.
And I wanted my phone back.
Climate change is a catastrophe in waiting.
Its body bristles.
Yeah, because here, if the teachers see your phone, they take it.
And the consequences for humans can already be seen.
It starts climbing up my rib cage.
Yeah, they lock your phone in a safe. Around the world, we see wars and starvation.
It pulls itself up inside my rib cage. I think it has teeth.
Yeah, and then your mum or your dad or your older sister or whoever has to go and get it.
Around the world, we see wars and desertification.
My dad had to come and collect my phone. He was livid.
And things are only going to get worse.
There's a noise.
And I really wanted my phone back before Miss Jarvis saw it.
There's a noise inside of me.
We have 12 years to do something before it's too late.
So I reached over and grabbed my phone out of Grace's hand.
I can hear it inside me.
Just 12 years.
Yeah, that's when things went really weird.
It wasn't my fault.
I didn't say it was.
Oh, I thought you were.
Well, it wasn't anyone's fault. Or it might have been. But I mean, you just don't know, do we?
I can hear it from inside me.
And then Grace leaned right over the desk and held her stomach like...
Yeah.
And I said, are
okay, Grace?
It's making this noise like... I pull my jumper around me so no one else can hear.
And then Grace did a very un-Grace thing.
I don't know how to stop it from...
Very ungrace.
I can't make it.
Totally un-Grace.
Oh, they're going to hear.
She started.
They're all going to hear.
She started.
I can't let them hear it.
She started singing.
I'm on my way.
What on earth is
Driving at 90 down those country lanes, singing to Tiny Dancer, and I miss the way you make me feel. It's real that we watch the sunset over the castle on the hill.
And that's when we realised.
And that's when I realised.
Yeah. We realised.
I realised
There was something seriously up with Grace.
that it wants to be heard. The it hisses and spits and growls.
Grace Fremantle.
When I speak, the it cracks up through all my words.
Grace Fremantle in 11F.
I stop speaking.
Me and Grace we just got each other. That first day in year 1, she was really kind. Is really kind. Look, she just made me feel like it was okay to be me. And a lot of the time, I feel horrible being me. I hate my body.
I keep my mouth shut.
And then I look around me and I see all these other people hating their bodies too, and their bodies look just fine to me.
I keep my mouth shut.
So, one day I asked Grace, do you want to walk home to school together?
I keep my mouth shut.
We can go back to yours and, make macaroni cheese.
I keep my mouth shut.
We can just hang out.
I keep my mouth shut.
But she didn't say anything.
I keep my mouth shut.
You see, when we were younger, me and Grace, we always used to go round hers and make macaroni cheese. It was kind of our thing. But then, one day, all of it just stopped. I don't know what happened. She just stopped communicating. She started staying at school and in the library when everyone else was long gone. She stopped asking me to come over to her house. She stopped WhatsApping, texting, Instagramming, Snapchatting, everything. All of it just finished.
I keep my mouth shut.
And so I took a big breath and I asked her what I've been wanting to ask her for weeks. Grace, don't you like me anymore?
I keep my mouth shut.
And she didn't say anything.
I keep my mouth shut. I'm at home, standing by the kitchen sink, getting a drink of water. It is resting. It occasionally rolls over and stretches along my abdomen. My mum comes in and puts on the radio to listen to the news.
The latest victim of a knife crime has been identified as David Sanderson.
It tenses.
Witnesses say they saw David Sanderson being chased by 3 or 4 other youths.
I don't know why, but I walk right up to where the radio is.
The victim then went into a local shop for help.
And suddenly, and without warning, it moves up over my shoulder and squeezes into my arm. I turn up the radio. A local mother comes on.
We're scared for our children.
There's a sharp pain in my hand.
We're scared when our children go to school.
There is a tiny cut in my hand.
We're scared when our children are out of sight.
There is blood in the palm of my hand.
He was 14, just a kid.
There is something sticking out of the palm of my hand.
We need somebody to do something.
It looks like a thorn from a rose, but it's bright blue.
That poor boy, lying in his own blood.
It's a claw.
Why is nobody doing anything?
There is a claw sticking out of the palm of my hand.
Why does nobody care?
I tried to push it back in with my fingertip.
That boy, lying there, screaming, knowing he's going to die.
He won't go back in.
Screaming for his mum.
I go into the bathroom. I shut the bathroom door. I take off my shoe.
We need somebody to do something.
I hit the palm of my hand with my shoe like a hammer.
That poor boy.
The claw resists.
That poor boy.
The claw resists.
That poor boy.
I wrap gaffer tape around my hand.
Remember that lesson we had in history about the Middle East?
Yep. Boring.
With Mr. Logan?
Yeah, right, dickhead.
Remember that test?
Yep, easy peasy.
And I was sat next to Grace Fremantle.
Fremantle, more like.
That's not nice.
True, though.
She didn't answer one question on that test. She just sat there staring at the paper. She didn't even pick up a pen.
Maybe it was too hard to pick up with them woolly gloves she had on.
I don't think that's funny. I don't think we should be making jokes about her. I would like it if everyone did that to me.
God.
Remember that photo of the boy who was bombed in Syria? Well, when Grace saw that, she started to shake.
The pain inside is.
A 4-year-old boy sits on an orange chair. Aleppo has been bombed. The little boy is dusty from the exploded building. His hair is matted and chalky, and his face is covered in blood. The little boy sits neatly with his hands on his knees. He's traumatized.
The pain inside me is unbearable.
The desk started shaking, and Grace was shaking, and I tried to get Mr. Logan's attention, but Grace looked at me in a way that, I don't know, it made me feel like I shouldn't. I should have told Mr. Logan. Perhaps if I would have told Mr. Logan that thing in PE wouldn't have happened. It was obvious that she was in trouble and she needed my help, and I didn't do anything. Should I have done something?
Yeah, obviously.
Do you think?
Yeah, no. I don't know.
I can't stop watching the news. I can't stop reading the news. I can't stop listening to the news. I don't want to. I shut my eyes. I cover my ears. I don't want to know.
Food banks, cyclones, arms dealings, famine, plutocrats, benefit cuts, luxury yachts, suicide, extinction.
It crawls up through my stomach. Its spiky head reaches my throat. I can feel its beak stuck in the back of my throat. It opens up like a baby bird wanting to be fed. It speaks. It speaks. It speaks and it says,
What is next?
Disaster.
I gulp. And I gulp. And I gulp it back down until it's forced back down my throat, pulsing and vibrating back down in the pit of my stomach. I put tape over my mouth.
Grace, man, Grace.
Yeah, Grace man.
With the, and the...
Balaclava.
That's, no, that's not it. That's that pastry thing, isn't it?
Wait, that's baklava.
No, that's that Greek, Turkish, Arabic pastry thing.
Yeah, well, my year 4 teacher, they used to bring in baklava at the end of each term. It's really sick.
I cover my face.
So, Grace comes in one day wearing this,
Balaclava.
that's it. And it wasn't winter or nothing.
They all take the piss. I don't give a shit.
I don't understand how she's allowed to come in wearing this,
Balaclava.
that's it. But I can't come in wearing my trainers 2 days in a row, and I had a proper reason. They were getting fixed.
Yeah, I remember.
I got put in isolation.
Yeah, I remember.
It was extreme reaction.
Yeah, I remember. At break time, I go to the toilet. I take my clothes off. I watch the it move around inside my body, bumping and poking and pushing at my skin. It has grown so big. A long, low growl rumbles through my blood, muscle and gristle. What is next?
And then Grace is allowed to come in, wearing her,
Balaclava.
that's it, willy-nilly in her,
Balaclava.
that's it, happy as Larry in a
Balaclava.
balaclava.
What is next?
People hunt giraffes and tigers and lions and rhinos. Rich people follow the animals in jeeps. They stalk them and watch them and raise their guns, and as the giraffes and tigers and lions and rhinos stop for a drink at the river in the burning sun. Bang.
I fall asleep on the floor of my bedroom.
There are people in a camp in Calais. There are people in a camp in Kos. There are people in a camp in Bangladesh.
My dreams are infiltrated.
They've run away from their own countries. They've run away from hunger and war and terror.
My dreams are infiltrated.
The people used to live in peace with grandparents and friends and neighbours.
I wake up.
They used to sip tea and break bread with smiles and love. They used to bicker about parking spaces and the music that next door played at 3 a.m.
There is a terrible pain just below my belly button.
They used to sing the old songs and dance the new songs and laugh about silly things like the way Grandma eats pomegranates.
There is a trickle of blood.
Children used to go to school and learn their 1, 2, 3s. Then guns and bombs and helicopters arrived.
There is a rip in my stomach.
The women and the men gathered up their children and started to run. They travelled miles with possessions on their backs.
I peel back the skin.
Women and children and men are not wanted in the camps of Calais and Kos and Bangladesh.
There is an eye.
They dream of home.
A yellow eye.
Dream of Grandma eating her breakfast in the pink light of the morning. They dream of banging on the wall at 3 a.m. and shouting at their neighbour to turn his music down.
A bright yellow eye.
There are women and children and men in a different type of camp in the south of France.
A bright yellow eye with a thin black pupil.
They wake up in the morning and have croissants and jam and coffee. They stretch their legs and yawn into glimmering sun.
It blinks up at me.
Think about the day ahead, which will be full of giggles and sandcastles.
We look at each other.
And swimming and sun cream and cool bubbly drinks.
I think I know what it wants.
Grace. Yes, Grace. In PE, weird. 100% weird.
It was after school, and I'd been at science revision. I'd left my coat in the lab, so I was running back to get it when I saw Grace in an empty classroom. She was all by herself, sitting very upright, very still, very neat. It looked like she was staring into space, so I went in and I asked her, "Is everything okay, Grace?" Of course she didn't look at me, but I saw something flicker in her eyes.
The it is flexing its wings,
I thought she was going to say something.
stretching its legs,
I touched her shoulder,
grooming its feathers or its fur or its scales.
and she flinched and she got up.
I can feel all of its muscles.
She's heading towards the door, so I grabbed her arm,
I can feel its strength.
and I turned around and said, "Grace, tell me what's
I
happening."
can feel its power.
And she shrugged me off.
It's preparing.
I grabbed her hand,
It is ready.
and she pushed me so hard that I fell, and I hit my head. I
I'm
hit
so
my head.
scared.
I hit my head on the floor.
I'm so scared.
It started to bleed. And I said, "Look what you've done."
I'm so scared.
And she turned around, she just walked away. And I shouted after her, "I hate you!" That was the last time I ever saw her.
So, my auntie's friend knows Grace's neighbour, and he said that when Grace started coming into school wearing all those clothes, that teachers thought that she had some special condition, which meant she was cold all the time. Apparently, Grace's parents contacted the school and said that she had some autoimmune thing. I'm not sure what an autoimmune thing is, but that doesn't matter because Grace didn't have an autoimmune thing. And her parents didn't contact the school. It was Grace. Grace contacted the school pretending to be them.
The inside of me is heating up. I wrap my body in tape to act as a barrier. I put a layer of clothes underneath my school uniform. I cover my mouth. I cover my hands. I cover my legs. I can't let it get out. I won't let it get out.
My auntie's friend said that Grace's neighbour said that Grace's parents are really nice. He said they're switched on. I think that means they know what's going on. Well, they didn't seem to know what was going on with Grace, and she's their daughter. Not that I blame them or anything. It wasn't their fault. I don't tell my parents a bean about my life. They say, "What happened at school today?" I say, "Nothing." They say, "What are you doing in your bedroom?" I say, "Nothing." They say, "What are you doing online?" I say, "Nothing." They're so annoying, they get on my nerves. Grace's neighbour said that Grace's parents were devastated. He said if they knew what happened that day in PE, it could have been avoided. They could have helped her or stopped it, or I don't know. But I'm sure they could have done something. Don't you think?
I was in PE when it happened. It was mental, like total madness. It was a boiling hot day and we had this supply teacher who wanted us to run 100 metres. So I shouted, "Hey, that's against our human rights!" And everyone started creasing. I'm a joker, innit? Right. Everyone else was just in their normal PE gear. And then there was Grace Fremantle, looking like a colossal nutter in all her gear. I'd like to take that back. She didn't look like a colossal nutter. She looked unusual, you know, in her unusual apparel. Right, so the supply teacher blew her whistle and sent all of us out. No one could be asked, so there was an awful lot of dawdling and chit-chat, which pissed the supply teacher off.
You're supposed to be competing! Whoever's last gets a detention!
That supply teacher was a wild one. You know how some supply teachers can be a bit unpredictable, you know? So everyone starts running.
It darts its head.
I turned back to see if I was last, which I wasn't, which surprised me because I usually am. Running is not my forte. I turn back and I see Grace just frozen in the middle of her lane.
And what I want to know is what are you going to do with your future?
It opens its beak and bares its teeth.
There are children and women and men in an inflatable boat in the sea.
It plunges and heaves and dives inside me.
The supply teacher noticed Grace and walked up to her and was all... But Grace didn't even look up.
There it whirls in a fever of blistering heat around my organs.
The waves are enormous.
Yeah, the teacher was proper shouting at her, and Grace didn't seem to notice, which is making the supply teacher apoplectic.
Hashtag ditzy bikinis, hashtag EasyJet.
It twists my liver.
Remember, it's your future.
It snaps at my kidneys.
There's people in the camp in Calais.
It claws at my lungs.
Yeah. Eventually, the supply teacher gets tired of screaming at Grace and goes back to the starting line to have a go at someone else.
There are children in a camp in Cos.
It starts to shred my muscles.
And Grace is still just standing there, in the middle of her lane, in the middle of the day, in the middle of a boiling hot summer day.
There are people in a camp in Bangladesh.
You know when you see a dog digging? It's doing that, but to the soft flesh inside of me.
Grace, are you revising?
I'm filling up with blood.
Eventually, the supply teacher starts lining up the next race to go, and when all the students point at Grace, the supply teacher just says they should run around her.
And no one around seemed to give a toss.
The blood is still filling up.
The girl in Grace's lane is a bit worried about, the human obstacle, and when she talks to the supply teacher looks like she's about to explode and suddenly screams, "Just fucking run!"
And instead of bursting out into laughter or telling her that we were going to report her to the head teacher, we all just started fucking running.
The woman disappears under a crash of foam and bubble.
Its talons scratch up at my larynx. I cough up blood.
Food banks, cyclones and arms dealings.
It crushes my heart.
Unfortunately, the girl who was in Grace's lane tripped up someone, who tripped up someone, who tripped up someone. Eventually, we're just all in a pile, and we all start cracking up.
Rich people hunt giraffes, lions, tigers, and rhinos.
It snaps off my ribs and pushes through. The pain.
We were all cracking up.
The Earth's climate is changing at unprecedented speed.
The pain is...
We were all cracking up.
The little boy is Dusty from the exploded building.
It burrows its face up through my throat.
It was so funny.
Food banks,
I gulp down.
plutocrats,
I gulp down.
benefit cuts.
I gulp down.
And we were all literally rolling around on the floor in hysterics.
It forces my mouth open.
And then suddenly, we hear this sound, like someone's being murdered.
Its head grabs my teeth.
We all tried to look at the Just Fucking Run teacher, but it wasn't her.
My teeth shatter and crumble from my mouth.
The bow upturns.
My cheeks split as the it hauls itself out of me.
The supply teacher was just looking straight into the third lane.
It hauls itself out of me.
We all looked to where, our eyes all swiveled to where the supply teacher was looking, and it was Grace.
Its scaly feet kick at the sides of my throat.
She was still just standing there.
It uses my windpipe as a launch pad.
But her mouth was open.
Remember, it's your future.
It wrestles itself out of me. It is slick and wet, covered in blood and pus. Its tail slaps my face as it launches itself into the sky.
Her head was tilted all the way back.
Floods, droughts and storms.
Its enormous wings unfurl mid-air with blast and yellow and clash.
Her face was turned all the way up to the sky.
Forced migration and desertification.
The wings were bright green and iridescent.
Her mouth was wide open.
Flecks of fire spin off its scaly body like a Catherine wheel.
That noise was unbelievable.
The bow upturns.
It stinks of fire and demons and rupture and storm.
The noise was so loud.
The sky is filled with red and orange in clotting guts.
The boy's hair is matted and chalky.
It was so terrifying.
The whole world heats up.
The noise that was coming from her was so terrifying.
It is all the adults' fault.
Luxury yachts, suicide, extinction.
The it is coming for them.
I will never forget that.
The it blinks its bright yellow eyes. The earth shudders.
She was...
It opens its beak, full of howl.
She was...
Bang!
It cuts out the sunlight.
She was...
Bang!
We descend into darkness.
Bang!
Full of fury and brilliance.
She...
Bang!
And fever and magnificence.
She...
Bang!
The it stops the world of her.
She...
They tried to get Grace Fremantle off the school field, but she wouldn't go. It was awful. Eventually, 3 teachers came and carried her to the medical room. They wrapped a blanket around her. Her parents came and took her to the car. Her mum was asking her so many questions, but Grace wasn't saying anything. She looked exhausted. Her whole body was sagging, and at one point, she stumbled and they had to hold her up. She never came back to school. I don't know where she went. None of us know where she went. Not even Sam knows. Everyone has their theories. Girl trouble, boy trouble, friend trouble, parent trouble, eating disorders, exam pressure. I don't get involved. I don't say anything. Because when they all saw Grace Fremantle lose her shit on that PE field, when they saw her scream and scream and scream up to the sky, I saw something different. I probably shouldn't say this, and I'm going to regret saying it, but I saw it open its wings and cover the sky. I saw it open its beak and roar. I saw what was inside of her. The blood and the fury and the gore. I saw what was inside of her because it's inside of me too. I feel a presence, a gnawing, a squirming. It's small, like a cherry pip or a baby shrimp. It's really small, whatever it is, but it's here. It's definitely here.